Can you imagine possessing a gift so powerful that it changes the entire world, but so heavy that it breaks the person holding it? Today, we are stepping into the smoky jazz clubs of London. We are opening the door to the private world behind the flashy headlines, the wild hairstyles, and the 5 Grammy Awards. This is the moving, true story of a young woman who had a voice from another era, a heart that loved too deeply, and a soul that spent its final years searching for a safe place to rest. Let's travel back to where the music began, on the rainy streets of London. Look at a small bedroom in North London in the late 1990s. The walls are covered in vinyl records and posters of old jazz legends like Sarah Vaughan and Dinah Washington. You see a teenage girl sitting on the edge of her unmade bed, cradling a giant wooden guitar that looks almost too big for her frame. She has messy dark hair, sharp eyes, and an intense look of concentration. When she opens her mouth to sing, the voice that comes out does not sound like a teenager from the suburbs. It sounds deep, smoky, and heavy, with a kind of ancient, lived-in pain. This girl is Amy. Before she became a global icon, her life was shaped by an ordinary but painful childhood. Amy grew up in a lively Jewish family where jazz music was always playing in the background. Her father was a taxi driver who sang Frank Sinatra songs to her, and her grandmother, Cynthia, was a glamorous former singer who taught Amy to be brave and independent. But when Amy was just 9 years old, her parents separated. The divorce shattered her sense of stability. She became a rebel at school, testing boundaries, getting tattoos, and refusing to follow the rules. She was highly intelligent, but deeply unfocused, searching for a way to cope with the changing world around her. She found her anchor in a pen and a guitar. Amy didn't care about modern pop music or becoming famous. She loved the raw honesty of the blues, where singers bared their deepest, darkest secrets. She began to write poetry in a small notebook, turning her private journal entries into complex, soulful lyrics. For Amy, songwriting was not a career choice. It was a form of self-defense. By the time she was a young adult, she was performing in small, dimly lit London clubs. She was a young woman with an old soul, completely out of place in a world of manufactured pop stars, just looking for a microphone to tell her truth. Amy's raw talent was too massive to remain hidden in underground jazz clubs. In 2003, she released her debut album, Frank, which earned her critical praise in Britain. But it was her second album, Back to Black, released in 2006, that caused her career to explode globally like a wildfire. Working with producers like Mark Ronson, she created a sound that combined old-school 1960s girl group melodies with modern, brutally honest lyrics. She took her deepest heartbreaks, her battles with depression, and her actual refusal to enter a rehabilitation clinic and turned them into the massive hit song Rehab. Suddenly, her life moved at an unterrifying pace. The public fell completely in love with her signature look, the towering beehive hairstyle, the dramatic wing of black eyeliner, and the jazz diva attitude. In 2008, she made history by winning 5 Grammy Awards in a single night. She was surrounded by millions of dollars, luxury, and global adoration. But the spotlight turned out to be a burning sun. The British tabloid media became completely obsessed with her personal life. Paparazzi camped outside her apartment building 24 hours a day, chasing her down dark streets and flashing cameras directly into her face during her most vulnerable moments. During this chaotic rise, she fell deeply in love with a man named Blake Fielder Civil. Their relationship was intensely passionate, but deeply destructive. Together, they entered a dark cycle of heavy drug addiction and alcohol abuse, played out entirely on the front pages of newspapers. When Blake was sent to prison, Amy's heartbreak became public entertainment. She was a giant on the global stage, but in private, she was a fragile young woman drowning in anxiety and dependency. She tried to escape the chaos by fleeing to the quiet island of St. Lucia for months, but the demands of her fame and the shadow of her addictions always pulled her back to London. The final years of Amy's life were a tragic, visible struggle between her immense genius and her failing health. The music industry and the public kept demanding tours and performances, even when she was too weak to stand. On stage, she often looked small and lost under the bright lights, forgetting her lyrics while crowds of thousands of people booed her. She was a woman who sang from her soul, but her soul was completely exhausted. On July 23, 2011, the music stopped forever. Amy was found dead in her bed at her home in Camden, London. She was only 27 years old. The cause of death was accidental alcohol poisoning after a period of abstinence. The news sent a wave of profound shock and grief across the globe. Millions of fans realized that a completely irreplaceable voice had fallen silent. Amy Winehouse's short life teaches us a powerful lesson about the cost of genius and the fragility of the human spirit. She showed the world that true art comes from a place of absolute honesty. But she also exposed the dark side of a society that treats a person's private pain as public entertainment. She never wanted to be a product or a flawless role model. She just wanted to make music that meant something. Though she left the stage far too soon, she left behind a timeless legacy, reminding us that behind every great legend is a human being who just wanted to be heard, protected, and loved. The story of Amy Winehouse remains captured in the groove of her vinyl records. She was a rebel who stayed completely true to the music she loved, refusing to compromise her sound for anyone. When we listen to her songs today, we are not just hearing music. We are hearing the unfiltered heart of a girl from London who gave everything she had to her art. Thank you for diving into this biography with me. If the stories of history's most fascinating people touch your heart, make sure to follow along for our next journey. Until next time.